All right, welcome guys again to another YouTube video. Today I am joined by John, aka the Bodybuilding Vegan. How are you doing today, John?
I'm doing well, Adam. Thank you for having me on. I'm looking forward to spreading some information and getting my story out there.
Amazing. Look, I said this already, but I really do appreciate your time, and hopefully this video can help you spread the message of bodybuilding, but of course, veganism, which I'm sure we both can agree is kind of a high priority for the both of us, right?
Yes, 100%.
So I want to start off with what you'd most likely expect. Tell us a little bit about you. Yeah, tell us your story.
Yeah, I definitely wasn't always the bodybuilding vegan. I started out playing sports as a kid. I didn't start out vegan. My parents weren't vegan. I had a friend that introduced the concept of being vegetarian to me around the age of 10. It took a few months for that to really set in and to start like I don't know. It's so long ago. It was 20 years ago. But when she told me, I understood what she was saying, but it didn't quite click. Like I felt like if everybody else is doing it, why am I wrong to do it? Like, it's maybe it's like how the things are supposed to be. We're supposed to eat animals.
Mm,
But I had always felt bad about it. Like in the back of my mind, I felt bad. So I figured I would try being vegetarian for a little while. I had been bullied a lot by the time I was that age, so I didn't want to tell anybody. I didn't want to give them more fuel to
yeah.
make fun of me. Um, and it just clicked. I became vegetarian. I was vegetarian for 3 years, and then I became vegan after reading about
Mm,
how animals are treated um, in like dairy farms and
mm,
egg facilities. Like it really still. I I used to like feel like vegetarian was a step forward, but really I still feel like that's not nearly enough.
yeah.
When the animals killed anyways, it's almost like murder's bad, but so is rape and murder. Like they're
Yeah.
both bad. And so I was like, I don't know if I can do this. I'm 13. I don't know anything about nutrition, but I'm gonna try it. And I definitely failed the first week. I forgot there was milk and peanut M&Ms.
Yeah.
Um, but that like week long experiment has now been 17 years, and it's honestly been one of the best decisions of my entire life. That combined with bodybuilding has put me where I am today. And for me, it's funny because a lot of people think that they're so separate, like bodybuilding and veganism are two different
Mm,
things. But for me, they go hand in hand.
yeah.
Um, I think part of the reason I bodybuild is because I was bullied.
Mm,
I wanted to gain some confidence in myself and some belief in myself and get so big that nobody would want to mess with me. But then also, I think because I was bullied and because I went through my own pain and I didn't really have a way to stand up for myself and I felt powerless, I can empathize with the animals,
mm,
where the that are treated this way, that have no way out, that are just subjugated to this basically torture.
mm,
I connected with them maybe on a level because of what I had been through. So for both of those reasons, they go hand in hand for me. And now, I created my Instagram account, I think back in 2013 to document my very first bodybuilding prep back when I didn't have a clue what I was doing. Um, and I got the name the bodybuilding vegan. I really think in hindsight, it should have been the vegan bodybuilder. I don't know if I'll bodybuild until but I can guarantee I'll be vegan until I
yeah.
die. And part of the reason I'm pushing myself so hard for bodybuilding right now, that's my activism. When I
Mm,
walk down the street, I don't think I'm big in my head. I
mm,
really don't. Um, but other people do.
mm,
And and that'll start a conversation because they'll see me. I'll usually have green hair, usually like rainbow shoes. Like I try to be, it's easy for me to talk one on one, but I'm a little bit more of an introvert.
yeah.
So to be out there and express myself in front of people isn't always the most comfortable thing for me. So I try to adjust my look to where I'm approachable.
Yeah.
And then I'll always have from One to Save Many, one of their vegan t-shirts. And that usually gets the conversation started. It's either I can't believe you're vegan. Where do you get your protein? Are you really
Yeah.
vegan? Is this a joke? And I think just changing that perception because there still is that stereotype that vegans are scrawny and weak.
Mm,
And I've had a lot of people tell me that they would be vegan, but they can't achieve their bodybuilding goals on a vegan diet. And so
yeah.
I just want to, yes, you can. There's really really no reason not to. It's better for your health. It's better for the animals. It's better for the planet. So, why not? So I told my girlfriend yesterday, I think if the whole world became vegan overnight, I'd give up competitive bodybuilding. I
Yeah.
mean, I love it, but for me, it's an avenue to
Mm.
express veganism. Um, and I would like to become the first IFBB pro that is fully plant based
Hmm.
in men's bodybuilding. We've got a couple like Tori Washington in men's physique
Yeah.
in IFBB, but none in open bodybuilding. So if
Yeah.
I could open, then I could hang it up and let other people go and show that it's possible.
That is truly amazing. For anyone who's kind of listening in as well, I actually don't know John that well. So you sharing that story is not just inspirational to the guys watching, but to myself. I'm learning so much about you. You mentioned you've been vegan slash vegetarian. Is that 17 years vegan or 17 years vegan and vegetarian? So, or would it be 20 years with the vegetarian added to that?
17 vegan and 3 vegetarian before that. I don't really
Wow.
count the vegetarian
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
anymore. So
I,
2 decades have meat. I don't even know what
yeah.
it tastes.
Absolutely. So you've covered so many of my questions already, but I want to kind of bring it back to the influential aspect. You mentioned you had a friend who was vegetarian who played a large influential role going vegetarian. How did that kind of transition to the vegan aspect? Was it kind of lots of little things, or was it one big thing, or a combination?
Yeah, so once I became vegetarian, I was pretty secure in that for three
Yeah,
years. I was doing, everything that was right of me, and it doesn't kill a cow directly to take milk. I didn't
yeah,
really think further. And then to be honest with you, it's a little bit controversial, but I read a PETA magazine on my way to middle school one day, and it just told me this is what happens to a dairy cow.
yeah,
This is what happens with chicken with eggs. And I remember reading it like vegetarian isn't enough. And I was like, what do you mean it's not enough?
yeah,
Like, let me in and debunk this and prove myself right. And by
yeah,
the time I got to the article, I was like, holy shit, I'm kind of a hypocrite right now.
yeah,
Like, it's wrong to kill a cow for beef, but it's okay to kill a cow after we're done milking it. And so, um, it hit me that day. Like, I still don't, I was riding to school, so I already had my lunch packed that day with like a Go-Gurt and whatever else I was eating at the time. And I think I just told my mom when I got home, I was like, I want to try this.
mm,
And thank God for both my parents, because I was 10 when I became vegetarian and
wow,
13 as I was too young to hold a job, too young to drive a car, too young to go to the store on my
mm,
own. Um, so without the support of my parents, this wouldn't have been
yeah,
possible. Um,
that,
I sometimes have people reach out on Instagram. They're like, "Hey, I'm 16 and my parents won't support me.
mm,
What should I?" I'm like, "Man, I don't know. that's
yeah.
that's."
That is a tough one. I think it's great that your parents like even a step towards the vegan movement isn't just getting people to go vegan, but also be more understanding of it. So I'm even seeing a lot more like my partner's parents gave her such a hard time when she went vegan, and it was like you need dairy, you need meat, you need these sort of like you're going to get frail and die. And this was like the conversations every time we went to Poland because she's from Poland. And now it's at the stage where like mum and dad are just buying so many plant-based foods and they're loving it and they're not even commenting. So even that in itself is like that activism that we spoke about is that level of influence. That's kind of a two-way street. We kind of just need to not, I guess, fall prey to um, conforming to other people's social norm rather than as opposed to teaching people about morals and ethics. Well, not teaching them about morals and ethics, about getting them to question their morals and ethics. Let's call it. Um, I want to switch it up to the fitness side of things as well. Similar question. Who like again? You did say a few things about being the skinny kid in school, being bullied in school. Tell us about the influential side of your fitness. Like, how did that happen? You played lots of sports, and what got you into bodybuilding? Was it one person? Was it a whole bunch of? Maybe it was a Generation Iron documentary. What was it?
Um, to my knowledge, this was way before Generation Iron. This was about 15 years ago.
Yeah.
So, I had always played sports. I did like karate, a season of baseball, a lot of soccer. I was actually pretty good at soccer at one point. And then I got into running. And once I got into high school, running transferred into wrestling. And so I
Yep.
was 130 pounds, a wrestler. And after my freshman year, they're like, okay, now you guys are going to go lift weights to get stronger. And I was like, okay, I've never done this before. After the first day, I was like, I think I'm done wrestling. I've found my thing. I
Yeah.
at first just wanted to get strong as hell. I didn't really care about bodybuilding. I remember even thinking like, why would I do a set of calf raises?
Yeah.
That's way. I could do a set of squats instead.
Yeah.
Like, like, but then I don't know exactly what it was. Like maybe watching some of the old like Arnold pumping iron and like other documentaries and just being around bodybuilders in the gym,
Mm.
it slowly started to transition towards bodybuilding. And like I still wanted to be strong, but like it wasn't the only goal. Um, I think I think that's where I found my community,
Yeah.
finding other minded people and the skills and the traits that you learn in the gym to be a successful bodybuilder is it's going to take time, consistency, dedication,
Mm.
programming, being really detail oriented. Like it takes all those things to excel at bodybuilding. And if you break it down, all of those things can be applied to anywhere else in your life.
Yeah.
So work ethic found through bodybuilding, I've applied to everything else, including
Yeah.
school, work. Um, like I really became good at time management because I didn't want to give up bodybuilding while I was working full time and in school
Mm.
full time. Or somebody's like, "Oh, well, now you're in school full time. You're gonna have to quit the bodybuilding thing." I was like, "I'd probably rather die than do that." So
Yeah.
for me, it is for, I guess, almost for my mental health as much as anything else.
Yeah.
Like I don't know, I feel comfortable there. Like I won't dance anywhere. I feel uncomfortable dancing, but like
Yeah.
sometimes I'll kind of like dance around a little bit. I don't know. It's my place to express myself, and really just feel comfortable. It's like the only place where I'll be
Yeah.
with no walls.
I truly love that. I want to dive into the specifics of what you've just mentioned. I've got a question written down. What does your training and eating look like right now? Is it only bodybuilding? Like, is it seasonal? Do you change your macros much? And I ask this question in the context of perhaps there's going to be some younger viewers who are interested in bodybuilding. And I want to put a disclaimer to this question, which is like, and I'm sure you'll agree with this, just because I do this right now doesn't necessarily you should be doing that as well. But I'm sure people are interested to know, and please do share with us.
Yeah, for sure. I do like the disclaimer. Just because I do it doesn't mean you have to.
Yeah.
Where I'm at right now, I'm about 16 weeks out from competing. So we're in a cutting phase.
Yep.
I body year round. It never changes. Like I don't like some people will bodybuild for like 6 months and then
Yep.
do like power, go back and forth. For me, it's just bodybuilding. That's
Yep.
where my heart's. So my training right now, I get up and do 30 minutes of cardio 5 days a week.
Hmm.
That's not that much, to be honest with you. In my last prep, I ended up doing like 6 days a week for an hour. So
Yep.
5 minutes isn't too bad.
Yep.
And then 5 days a week, I train with weights,
Yep.
usually about hour and a half if I'm like really moving to 2 hours if I'm at like a normal pace.
Yep.
Outside of that, I mean, the actual like training part, cardio part doesn't feel like too much. Like granted, it's hard. I push myself. You can watch videos.
Yeah.
I push the limits, but I mostly enjoy it. It's the food part that's harder for most people.
Yep.
For me, I tend to overthink everything, and like if you give me like, hey, eat these macros, I'll sit there all day plugging and playing with numbers, and it just is a huge time waste. So the way my coach have it worked right now is I have a base set of macros. I make a meal plan off that. I eat that same plan every single day.
Yep.
I have like a couple days that are lower for my off days, but those are still like identical off days each time.
Yep.
So now it's 6 meals a day on training days and 5 meals a day on off days. And I mean, some people would call it boring, but for me, it's efficient. I know how to cook those meals. They all taste really good. I've perfected them over the last 3 years.
Yeah.
So I look forward to them all, and that's just what works for me right now.
Yep.
Some people at like a lower level might track their macros, but like for competing at the highest level, you got to be on a diet plan.
You mentioned a thing in there, which is like, I've spoken to a few clients sometimes, and they're just like, do I have to eat this? Like if they get some form of a meal plan, do I have to eat this every single day? And I go, no, the reality is like the best nutrition plan is the one you can stick to. If you want that variety, you kind of need to understand it can come at a cost because you may have to manipulate, you may have to change it, you might have to track it differently. But some people are willing to pay that cost, right? And then of course you have the spectrum where it's just like on the other end of the spectrum, it's like yourself. I'm a bit more like you, where I was like, I'd rather have the same thing every single day, knowing I hit the targets. But then you have that spectrum where like, breakfast and lunch might be exactly the same, but dinner might vary. So you don't have to track 100% of a new meal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, go on.
I've had some clients do that. They'll eat
Yeah,
the same, like their first 2 or 3 meals, and then the last meal, it'll be a bit more of like the flexible dieting. And that's a good medium for most people. People that get um, to the point where they feel like they're being too restricted. For me, I just really enjoy all of my meals, so it's not a big deal. But yeah, it definitely is like you said. You got to find the plan that you can follow. Now, if you're going to be, if you're trying to be the best bodybuilder possible, you're probably just
yeah,
gonna have to suck it up. That's
yeah,
only for 16 or 20 weeks. The rest of the time, you can pretty much get by
yeah.
uh, either of the methods you presented.
Exactly. So specifically, obviously, you are here as the bodybuilding vegan, right? There's a lot of things happening within the bodybuilding community, and I'm sure you'd agree. A lot of young kids, younger generations are coming through, wanting to learn a bit more. Um, I did message you earlier as well if there was anything off limits, but my next question is, are you natural?
No,
Cool.
no.
Um,
I after competing and not having a clue what I was doing back in 2014, I had started that prep in like January or February at like 200 pounds, and by October, so like an 8 month prep, I was down to like 158 pounds. I had no clue what I was doing. I came in peeled. I was shredded.
yep.
Uh, about 100 pounds less than I'm sitting right now, and I couldn't ever for the next year get my strength back.
Mm,
It was weird. It was like anytime I tried to eat like I previously had, I would just get fat,
mm,
and then I would cut and I'd get weaker. And so trying to fix myself over a year of being in denial,
yep.
I went and got blood work done, and my testosterone was pretty damn low, like 260 nanograms per deciliter.
Mm,
And you probably like the range is like 300 to 1200
yep.
for a 22-year-old male. You should be sitting at like 600 plus if
Yep.
you're following a good meal plan and training
Mm,
and being healthy. So um, going through that process in our broken medical system here, being accused of using steroids by my endocrinologist and basically being refused treatment for quite some time, I ended up taking things into my own hands. I
yep.
found out ways to get private blood work done. Um, and so since then, I was on just the TRT dose for about a year. And then since then, I've been pursuing competitive bodybuilding.
Yep.
And anybody anybody that's around my height, 6 feet tall, 250 pounds, relatively lean, they're not going to be doing this naturally.
Yep.
Granted, you should, unless I think most people have decent enough genetics. You should be able to get pretty far and strong before needing to take that extra step. I was
Yep.
squatting 4 plates for reps, benching over 315, um, all of those naturally by the age of
Yep.
like 20, 21.
Yep.
So, if you're hearing this and like just feeling like, oh, I'm gonna quit bodybuilding because like I can't look like that unless I go on gear, like it's not entirely true. Like you won't be able to get quite this far, but you can still get
Mm,
very far. The majority of my clients are natural. But I do feel like I'm I'm taking this path not just for myself, but also for veganism. I
yep.
mean, I love natural bodybuilders. I
Yep.
do. It's like two different sports. It's
Yeah.
almost like comparing like you're kind of like weekend rally car racing
Yeah.
versus like
Yeah.
it's both racing, but it's two very different sports.
Mm,
Um, and for me, I think to be able to show these other guys in the NPC and IFBB that it can be done vegan, you don't have to just be natural as a
Yep.
vegan. Like you can take that next step and you can get just as big and just as
Yep.
strong. Might open some eyes. At first, I wanted, like, my selfish goal was to try and get like a team of vegans and start turning them into pros.
Yep.
And that's cool. That's great. But that doesn't make any more vegans in the world. It might raise some awareness.
Yep.
But what I did, I could turn myself pro and then start working with other pros that have health issues and convincing them to be vegan. Because at the end of the day, bodybuilders will do anything to win.
Yep.
Like I guarantee you, if I got to like the Olympia right now and had the top 16 and I said whoever goes and eats the most dog shit out of my yard, you're gonna win.
Yeah.
They'd all be running. They'd all be doing it.
Yep.
They whatever it takes to win, including gear, including thinking they have to eat meat. But if I can through blood work and my own success and hopefully success of others, that you can be healthier and a pro and vegan, like I know that they would do it because these guys want to compete. If that'll extend their careers and improve their health, they'll do it. I have
Absolutely.
to convince them, one, that it's possible, and two, that it's better. So that's kind of my own selfish endeavor here.
I truly appreciate you sharing that because I know it can be a touchy subject, including what I feel is happening a lot on social media, which is fake natties, which obviously you've seen them. It's really important to have that level of transparency, not to encourage anyone to necessarily start doing it, but I do apologize. I've got this cough, like I said. Yeah, so not to necessarily start doing it, but to have that level of transparency because information is power, right? If we can have this information, the number one thing I want people to take away from what you're talking about is that there is a ceiling, and we want to kind of keep pushing that ceiling and pushing. I see so many people talking about like steroid use when they haven't stepped foot into a gym ever, which is a huge problem. Like the amount of success people can get by just going to the gym consistently, I guarantee 9 times out of 10, by the time they get to a point where they may be okay to start taking performance enhancing drugs, they probably don't want to. They're probably okay at a maintenance phase. So I really appreciate you sharing that. Bringing it back also to veganism. We've spoken about fitness for a bit there. I still don't want to neglect the fitness side of this question. How do the people close to you, not just your clients or acquaintances or that, but the people really close to you, how do they feel about your lifestyle, aka veganism and fitness together, or bodybuilding, sorry?
I mean, I guess like most of them are supportive. A few of my close friends are not vegan, but they all support me, and they can't stand when people make fun of me or try to put you down for being vegan, and they support my bodybuilding. My family, they all support my bodybuilding as well. They've been at all my shows, and you know they clearly supported my veganism because they helped both my parents learn how to cook vegan foods. My brother, I guilted him into becoming vegan within like a year of me becoming. So he actually technically became vegan younger than me, and then my sister's / vegetarian pretty much the whole time too. So tons of support there. I'm not sure if that was exactly direct.
Yeah,
but
no, that's great. That's I think you kind of answered that a bit already, considering that you started quite young and your parents obviously being close to you. That's awesome to hear. You know, I do really wish other people and people watching had that level of support. So yeah, if there's anyone watching this, you know, John and I will support you. That's all you need to know. We're running out of time a little bit, and I don't have I've only got the free version. So I do want to kind of jump to the last question, which I think is super powerful. I'm going to read it straight off my screen. If you could go back and talk to your younger self, I'm talking younger than 13, or potentially just someone who reminds you of you, what would you say to them based on everything we've discussed today, or from what you know now?
That's a good question. You know, I think I could have talked to my younger self and convinced him to become vegetarian or vegan sooner. I remember I was 4 years old. I went fishing with my dad. and I didn't realize that we had to kill the fish to eat them. So when he pulled them out of the water, I threw a temper tantrum.
Yeah.
He ended up getting pissed back in the water. So they lived
Yeah.
another day. And so like at 4, I knew that. But then he
Yeah.
like later in the hamburger, sure. Like it
Yeah. Yeah.
didn't
Yeah.
click. So I could have talked to myself then. I think what I would do now, if I had the chance to go back, is to try and transfer the mindset that I have right now.
Yep.
And that's that the whole world we live in, you know, we're like one asteroid or one major global catastrophe away from being back at like throwing rocks at each other and
Yeah.
not really having this society. So what's holding it all together? Not a whole lot. And so what does that mean? You have complete control over your life. If you can take accountability and responsibility for everything that happens to you and around you, then you can change anything you want. So really just encouraging my younger self to stop limiting what I can earn per year, stop limiting how big I can get, stop limiting how much I can achieve in a certain timeline. Really just starting to learn that no doesn't always mean no. I don't mean like consent, but I mean like when a business says we're not hiring. Well, maybe you just haven't told them the job they need to hire you for. Go create your own position. I was hired at a part-time job and I ended up helping grow that company from 3 employees to 10.
Yeah.
So like, pulled their growth in about a year. And the reason I was able to do that is I went out of my way to go find things that this company didn't have, that they didn't even know about. And so if I can do that in every aspect of life, like, you know, for you, and for example, how did this happen? You reached out to me. I didn't just reach out. Like, you know, not everybody's going to come knock on your door and offer you things. You got to go out. You got to go ask for it wherever you are. And in any aspect of life, whether that's relationships, whether it's family, whether it's business, if you go put yourself out there and ask for things, you're going to get told no a lot, but you'll still get more yeses than if you never asked. So just unapologetically go out there and advocate for yourself every day, and don't let people tell you what you can and can't do. So
Dude, it's honestly such a pleasure to hear that and such a pleasure to meet you. One last thing before we go, how can people find you? I will put everything in the description. What's your handles? What's your website? Tell us where people can find you.
Super easy. Instagram at the Bodybuilding Vegan. Feel free to go on there, send me a DM. I get back to everybody. Or my website, bodybuildingvegan.com. If you don't have Instagram, there's a chance for you to email me there. So
perfect.
These two.
Excellent. I'm going to get you to send that across to me as well. I'm going to put that in the description. Again, John, thank you so much for your time. I really, really appreciate it. And I hope we can do another interview soon to extend on more questions.
Yeah, I'll do a part 2.
Awesome. Awesome. Thanks, John. Take care. Bye.
Take care.